Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'm excited about today's webinar. We're going to be talking about everything social media and recruiting, how to leverage platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok to attract workers to your jobs. A quick introduction. My name is Sam Byler. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Boostpoint. Boostpoint, I launched with my co-founder and initial team 5 years ago. We're a brand that is specifically focused on how to leverage social media for recruiting. So we built a software platform that automates a lot of that process. Me personally, I have over a decade's worth of experience specifically in social media marketing and advertising. And again, 5 years ago, we just saw that specific needs around recruiting and decided to do something about it. And so I'm super passionate about this topic and ecstatic about to talk about it today with this webinar. So thanks so much for joining me. It's going to be a fun time. We are going to do Q&A at the end here. So if there's any questions that that come up kind of during the webinar here, feel free to throw those in the Q&A. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started into our agenda. So setting the stage a bit here is, why is this important? We're in an interesting kind of time, with traditional job board advertising and job advertising as a whole, where things are shifting a little bit. The marketing landscape is changing. The advertising landscape is changing because the way that people are finding jobs is changing. So right now, especially for high volume job types, the data shows that before a person finds their next opportunity, they are applying on average over 100 times for different positions. So it's just this like apply, features like Indeed's quick apply. Also, another one I wanted to share here is like there's a lot of AI tools that are becoming available now for job seekers that just really oversaturates the candidate pool with sometimes often unqualified candidates because of just this big push just to apply for every job. One thing that I wanted to share here briefly, let me find the right button to share my screen. Like this is an example of why you're seeing this more and more. Like here's a tool that I can use as a candidate to automatically, it's AI driven, automatically find jobs that fit my criteria, and it automatically mass applies. I can apply to over 100 jobs per day using AI. And so because of tools like this and other tools as well, you're just seeing a lot of more of a saturation of candidates that it's harder to get their attention because of this higher volume of applying for open positions. And then in conjunction with that, this is driving more traffic to, platforms like Indeed, more applies. So like the cost for, cost per applicant, isn't reducing at all through these platforms. There's some studies that are showing, well, this was one, there's a 300% increase in job advertising fees since 2021. And the effectiveness has actually decreased. So you're seeing, and I hear this every day in conversations, actually talking to talent acquisition professionals, but like the data proves it as well, where it's like, all right, I'm spending the same budget or even more with job boards, but I'm seeing less volume of qualified candidates. And that's just because of some of the things I shared earlier. It was just this AI driven candidate applying, driving to just apply. That's a reason you're seeing an oversaturation of candidates through some of these job board platforms. So what are some solutions to combat this? This is really where job advertising and marketing outside of job boards really comes into play. Another reality is job boards are mainly targeting just active job seekers, people that are like, hey, I know I want to change my job, but that's only a segment of the total candidate pool. The reality is that 73% of the total candidate pool are passive job seekers. That means like they're not on Indeed yet. They're not on ZipRecruiter searching for their next opportunity. But if they'd be presented with something, they consider it. And that's really the goal with effective recruitment advertising and marketing is how do I get in front of that candidate pool that's not on Indeed and these online job boards. So now we're getting into, okay, recruitment advertising dollars and like, where do I channel that? Where do I get the best ROI? And that's really where we see social media come into play. We've done a lot of testing with different platforms. I'm going to specifically talk today about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok a little bit as well as the core platforms of this webinar and what we're going to focus on. And the reason that I'm talking about those platforms is in large, that's where we're seeing the best return on investment when you're looking to actually like initiate a paid advertising approach for recruitment marketing. And there's so many channels out there. You've got like traditional, TV, radio, a lot of digital versions, Google, display ads. There's so many platforms that, are screaming for your advertising dollars. And what we've seen in comparing a lot of these channels is social media is the highest performing. That's where you'll get your best return on investment and actually get real candidates that can turn into hires. And the reason being is that's just where people spend time. I mean, the iPhones, smartphones, and social media platforms on these devices, this is where people are spending their time. Over 81% of the North American population has an active Facebook account, and the average person that has a social media profile spends on average 3 hours per day on these social media platforms. So that's just kind of setting the stage here. I'm excited to, in this next segment, really dive deep into how do you leverage these platforms now? Like, how can we be successful? Because Meta, who owns Facebook and Instagram, they're really good at capturing your advertising dollars. It's really easy to spend money on these platforms. I was just on a call earlier today with a very well-known large brand here in North America. And they said, like, we've tried social media, we've tried several different tactics, and we haven't been able to see like actual hires from them. We have a ton of impressions, ton of clicks, but we can't track any hires to the advertising dollars we're spending on these platforms. And that's what I hear every day. I will say out front, like up front here, that does not have to be the reality. That's what we're helping our clients with every day is how do you actually deploy advertising that actually converts into real candidates that are qualified for your positions that turn into hires. That is a possibility with these social media platforms, but the right strategy has to be deployed. And that's what we're going to dive into right now. So I split these into kind of three main buckets of within this strategy, like 3 steps to really see success. And the first part is in attracting the right audience. How do you get your ads, your content, what type of content in front of the right people? The nice thing about the Meta advertising platform, Facebook ads, TikTok ads, is you can be very targeted as far as the geography that you're advertising in. So targeting is the first one. Make sure you're getting your ads in front of the right people. And this is fairly simple to do through the Meta advertising platform. You can put a pin in a map and say, hey, I want to only target people within 15 or 50 mile radius of this specific location. So geo-targeting, that's the first thing. And then beyond that, there's limited targeting that you can do, but there are some things that you can do to even hone that audience in a little bit further to the people that are more tailored to your positions, again, because that person is different, say whether you're hiring a nurse or a CDL truck driver or a customer success rep, for a call center representative. Like those are different types of people. And there are a few things that you can do adjustments on the audience side. As a whole, Meta has removed a lot of the really detailed targeting capabilities because of their special ad category that they introduced and employment ads are one of those ad sets that is, within their special ad category. Basically, without going into it too deep, it limits some of the targeting practices that you've historically been able to do. And so you just need to be a bit more broad with your audience, but you can be very focused on location. So that's a bit on how to target the right people. Now we're going to talk a bit about with what content really engages with an audience on the social media platforms. And so the first thing is, so let's first talk about the anatomy of a social media ad, which makes it different than a lot of other job ads. You have text, you have copy, but then you also have photos or videos. And so that's what makes it a little bit different, is like, okay, this isn't just a text-based ad, and so it's not quite as easy as just, writing a headline and writing copy with, the job title and things like that and the job description. That's a part of it, copy, but you also need engaging photos and videos, which can be somewhat of a challenge sometimes, because most of the talent teams that I interact with are maybe a little under-supported in the marketing side of things, so access to high quality, photos, videos can somewhat be challenging, but we'll talk about that here in a sec. The first thing I want to talk about is the ad copy. So the actual, words in your ad. And I'm gonna pull something up here. Give me 1 second, just to assist in talking about this. Here we go. So this is the applicant experience that we're trying to create through social media. The first step here is the ad itself. So this targeted ad that's capturing people's attention. The second step is the conversion method. How are you actually getting the candidates information? How are they applying for the job? Are they doing this on your career site? Are they doing this through an embedded experience within the social media platforms? And we'll get to that in a second. And then also the connection point, like how are you following up with these candidates? Are they going into your ATS, a CRM? Like how quickly can you follow up with these candidates? So the first thing here though is, what does my ad look like? So for this, we created a tool, a generative AI tool that can really help assist with this. So this is Boostpoint create.ai. You can get started for free, play around with it. I'll put a link in the chat here. Actually, let me do that right now. If you'd like to sign up for a free version of this tool, you can go to the chat and sign up there. But what this tool enables you to do is, so for this example, I'm going to create a new project and I'm going to convert a job description into a high performing social media ad, the content portion of it. So maybe I'm hiring a sales rep and I'm going to choose a project type here for a specific position, continue. I'm just going to breeze through this really quickly here. And looks like my tab is glitching out here a little bit. I'm going to go to the end here. So basically the steps, you simply provide it with a job title, a brief job description, and then this tool converts that into a social media ad just like this. So because the reality is you can't just copy and paste a job description over to a Facebook ad because it won't perform. It's not the type of content that really performs in a social media ad. You need the right headline here. Here's an example of a great headline. The ad copy needs to be very candidate centric, talking more about the desires, the wants, the motivation of the candidate, and then how that ties into the position. But this is a really great way to easily and really quickly create ad copy for social media platforms. Other things you can do with this tool is, say you want to refresh your job descriptions. This is one of the highest the things that users do most with these platforms is like, all right, I just want to refresh my job descriptions. Haven't done that in a while. You can create organic social media content as well to post on platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram. So feel free to go into the link there, and I think I put that in the chat. Feel free to go there and create a free account. So that's the ad copy side of things. The next thing I want to talk about is the ad assets, the visuals. So you've got the photo and or videos, like what types of videos or photos really perform well with social media ads. And this is definitely can move from time to time, like the goalpost of what style of content performs really well. I will say the past 6 months, user generated content shot in that style is performing the best by far by any other kind of style. What user generated content, what that style means is very personal content. Like you might see it like if you're scrolling through Instagram, like Reels or TikTok, it's almost this selfie style video, and it's like a 10 to 20-second video, saying, hey, thanks, so much. An example script could be something like, it's like, hey, we're hiring in your area. Boostpoint is hiring a customer success rep. Great pay, awesome benefits. Click the link below to apply. So a video, just something like that, that's shot well as far as like, it's not shaky, it's clean audio, but it's not like overly scripted. That's going to perform so much better than, maybe you've spent a lot of money to put an employer brand, video together, which those assets are great. Those are great for your career site, a 2-3 minute video talking about your organization. Those are great video assets to have to help for your recruitment marketing, but that's not going to perform really well with targeted ads on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. That style that I just kind of demoed there, that's really what we've been seeing perform really well. And that's what I often like to call the X factor with advertising is your content. Because we've seen, it depends what style of content you use. You can use, stock images, stock, videos, and okay, it's enough to get something up and running, but you can 2, 3, we've seen like 4x your ad performance just by using the right videos that really engage with candidates, because your advertising costs decrease drastically based on the engagement of your content. So if more people are clicking and interacting, with your ad and your video, Meta's going to signal that as a high performing ad, and they're going to show it to more people. So that's a big one right there, is what type of content are you using for your ads? A lot of our clients, they're really adapting to this, and they're being ambitious and getting their employees to shoot selfie style videos on site, having 10-15 seconds of just them talking about what makes this position great, why they're excited about it, and that style of content is outperforming any other style of content by far. So the next part of this strategy is the conversion method. So now we're getting people's attention. We're getting in front of the right people. Now that you've got their attention, what's the next step? And this is really where it can seem like kind of like a detailed, like, why does this really matter? But it makes the world of difference, where you're guiding people is the next stage, of the application process. And so there's several different ways you could handle this. The two primary ways that you can handle this is someone clicks on your ad and you're directing them to your career site or the specific job application. And the problem with this is, if you're on a social media platform, your attention span is fairly short. And so if you're clicking on a link and it's loading another page, maybe, some applications you have to create an account, you have to answer, 10, 15 questions, maybe a bit cumbersome to apply. You're going to see a huge drop off, even though your ad might be performing super well. Not many people are applying to your jobs, and that could be because of your conversion method. And so what we've seen perform extremely well is leveraging the internal conversion pages of the social media platform. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of these, you can create like a quick apply like experience through these platforms so that when someone clicks on your ad, hey, I'm interested in this position, this experience pops up where, their contact information, Facebook already has that, so that auto populates, but then they can hit next, and then you can insert certain like qualifying questions. Maybe it's a CDL driver, ad, and you could ask the candidate right there on that form, do you have a CDL driver's license? Like, how many years of experience do you have? What's your previous work history? Asking some of those questions, you might not be able to like get them to upload a resume, but you can get them to answer certain knockout questions that can help identify, initially, is this potentially a good candidate? But hosting that experience within the social media platform, you're going to see a 7 to 10x better conversion rate on your ads. That's impressions, people seeing your ad, to actually people filling out your applications. You're going to see that much of an increase leveraging and hosting that experience within the social media platform versus just, let's just send them to our careers page and an application and hope they apply. So that's the second step in the process. The third thing to really bring this together is how are you connecting these candidates with your recruitment team? Like, and again, imagine, people, they're scrolling through Facebook, they see this ad, they fill it out. If you wait several days or the next week to connect with the candidate, most likely they're not going to remember in detail of like really what they applied for. And so that's where speed to connection is extremely important. The best way that we've seen to handle this is to use SMS as a channel. So text message as a channel, text message, email, and use that to assist your recruitment team in creating the initial connection with these candidates. And so what the specific path that we recommend is setting up automated SMS workflows to automatically engage with these candidates. Boostpoint, our software, we have a tool and a feature that does this. Basically, the candidate experience that we're trying to help create is someone sees your ad, they apply through this quick apply form, and then 30 seconds later, when they still have their phone in their hand, they're getting an automated text message on behalf of the recruitment team saying, "Hey, Sam, thanks so much for applying for our sales position. Really excited to connect with you. When's a great time we can set up, a 15-minute phone conversation?" Or, whatever that next stage in your hiring process is, to immediately engage with the candidate is extremely important. And there's other tools that do this as well. I know there's like some conversational AI tools. We integrate with several of them as well. But the key here is to, whether you fully automate that second step or kind of use a hybrid approach where maybe it's just that first text message, that gets sent, but something to immediately engage with the candidate will drastically increase your interview rate and your hire rate of the candidates coming from social media. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we're after is, it's about more than just impressions or clicks or even, applicants. What we really want to do is create meaningful connections with candidates, with our recruitment team, that we can ultimately, hire and see success in our hiring funnel with these channels. Going to take a quick pause here. Again, I'm going to remind everybody, if you have any questions, feel free to throw those in the Q&A. The next couple minutes, I want to go over like what results can you expect with social media as a channel. Again, like I said before, we've been doing this for a number of years with Boostpoint. So we have a lot of case studies of customers that there's usually two types of customers that we tend to work with. Number one is they've maybe tried social media as a channel before and just didn't get much success out of it. Maybe they tried to launch it internally or get like more of a traditional marketing agency to deploy something, but there was just a disconnect and it didn't work. That's usually one type of customer. The second type is like, this is all completely new to them. They've never tried to deploy a social media advertising strategy, and they're just trying to figure out, what are the steps to do. So that's usually like where we'll start working with customers. One specific customer story that comes to mind is in the healthcare space. We do a lot in the healthcare space, really talking about like, okay, what spaces does this really work for the best? What we've seen is seen the most success with like the frontline workforce. Hourly positions tend to do the best through targeted ads on social versus maybe like executive hiring. So that's like the segment that we've seen perform the best with social media advertising. Again, we do a ton in healthcare space, hiring nurses, transportation, warehousing, manufacturing, sales, customer success. But kind of that segment of high volume hourly hiring tends to be where we engage most with organizations. One client that comes to mind, I'll just kind of share their story. They came to us. We've been working with them for probably 3 years now on Home Instead in the healthcare space. They provide senior care. They use the franchise model. So we work with a lot of their franchisees for hiring caregivers in their local markets. So this space specifically, there's just a drastic shortage, of workers in this space, and it's only getting worse just because of the demographic in the U.S. More aging people entering, where they need care, and just not enough of workers to support that need. And so it's a huge need. And their biggest need was just monthly, like they had a monthly quota of caregivers that they needed to hire. They were using channels like Indeed. That's where they were spending the majority of their advertising budget. They had kind of tapped that out. It was like, all right, they saw, hey, increasing that budget doesn't really move the needle a whole lot. Trying different things. They had tried social media in the past, and they were one of those customers that's like, they just didn't, like, they got impressions, likes, clicks, but spent $10,000 in a particular month, and they didn't see any hires. And so it's like, all right, well, that's not working. That's a waste of money. And then they started working with us, and we deployed this exact strategy that I just mentioned. It was really engaging videos that we were able to help them produce, and that's what they use for their creative. Again, they mirrored the exact process that I just went through, and the results they saw was like outstanding. And this happened immediately. Sometimes it takes maybe a month or two to really dial things in, but immediately they saw a 4x increase in candidate volume. Their cost per applicant was 5 times better than Indeed for the same type of position, and they were similar quality. So their cost per applicant was way more efficient than Indeed. Most times we see we're really around the same. As a whole, we're usually more efficient than Indeed. It's not every position, every geography. It can kind of vary some, but as a whole, with social media, you can usually be more efficient with your advertising dollar, even with the monster Indeed. And then they that all converted into a 49% increase in their serviceable hours for their first 4-month period because of these additional hires. So that's how directly connected it was to their business success as a whole. Like, their limiting factor was hires. They had the work, they had the customer base, they just needed to increase hires for their organization. So that's the possibility, and we see this every day. With this strategy, implemented properly, that's the type of results that you can expect to see with social media. I'm going to wrap up here and transition into Q&A here in a second. If this is something where you're, like, hey, I'm interested in, getting started, but I just don't really know where to go, I'm going to share a link in the chat where you can set up a one-on-one call with one of our advertising experts, where they'd love to go a layer deeper than I went, in this webinar, where you can kind of present, hey, here's my job types, here's my geography, these are my specific needs. Is this a good, solution for me to pursue either internally, or, we can implement it for you as well if that's an option you want to pursue. Typically how, we work with clients is we have an initial call, but within a call or two, And as long as it takes to understand kind of your core problems around hiring, we can usually get something implemented within a 2 to 3 week period. We're super flexible. There's a month to month option where it's like, hey, we can test this for maybe the first 3 months, see if this really works. If it does, we'll dial it in, ramp it up. If not, hey, there's no long-term commitment. If that's something you're interested in, you can feel free to go to the link that I just posted in the chat, and you can set up a one-on-one call where we can look at your specific positions. Is this even a great thing for you to pursue? And again, some of the, or what type of expectations. We have a lot of data with, okay, this position type and this geography, here's what you can specifically expect. All right, so transitioning into Q&A. This is one of my favorite parts of the webinars that we do. So any questions here, feel free to throw these into the Q&A there. First question is, I joined late. Will this be recorded? And can I get a recording? Yes, this is recorded. You can just request a recording, by emailing. Actually, just email me directly if you need a recording of this. That is sam@boostpoint.com, and I'll make sure my team gets you a link of the recording. Integrations. This is a great one. How do you integrate with SuccessFactors ATS? That's the specific question here from Megan. Yes, we have the ability to integrate with all the ATS platforms. So if we rewind, to how we're capturing candidate data, this is through the social media platforms. So usually one of the questions is, how do I transfer that candidate data from Facebook into my ATS? And that's where our Boostpoint software comes into play. That's really hard to do natively just through the Facebook platform. That's one solution that our software solves. Is where, all right, these candidates can be directly implemented into your hiring workflow within your ATS or CRM. Another question, can Boostpoint integrate with ATS? Just answered that. Going through a couple more questions here. Do you have material to show for some metric for high-end recruitment nationwide? We have a ton of data. So if you're looking for like specific scenarios where it's like, all right, I do have some high-end recruitment needs, schedule a call with us and we'll look at, okay, what are the specific position types? And then we can provide that data. It's not like online anywhere where you can just like go and like pull up, but we can dig into that and answer any of those specific questions for you. Another question here. This is there's a great question here. So does the candidate think that they applied after answering those questions on the native platform? If so, are we allowed to collect government reporting data on those candidates for compliance? So the way to handle compliance is it's all kind of in the terms and policies of the form that and this experience that you're creating natively within Facebook. You do have the ability to the opt-in, the privacy policy, like you have the optionality to tailor that in the same way that you do your ATS, where the candidate does understand, oh, I'm applying for a position and here's the things related to that. So by default, no, but you can set up that experience, just putting in the right language within the form, the right privacy policies, all those things. And we usually walk through clients with this in their onboarding process. But yes, you can configure this experience to be compliant from that perspective. All right, got a couple more questions here. They keep rolling in, and we're gonna circle up in about at about 2:45. So that'll be like the end to this webinar here. We're gonna get through a couple more questions. Okay, so do you see struggles with potential applicants seeing the ads on their social media accounts as a scam, so they do not click on the ad? So this is really comes down to engagement with the ad. And we're not able to have a conversations with these people as or read their minds as they're kind of scrolling through and seeing the ads. However, data within the sorry, excuse me, losing my voice. I get super passionate about this, so I tend to speak pretty loudly in our conference room here. Just gonna take a sip of water. Sorry. So where I was going is there's certain data points that we can monitor that kind of can signal like how are people engaging this? Are they seeing this and just kind of scrolling right through? So click rate is one of those that you can see. Okay, X amount of people saw this. Here's the percentage of people that actually clicked on that, and we can see is that low, is that high, and kind of see what the what the performance is from that perspective. I will say the biggest thing that drives engagement is authenticity. So on your ads, one of the things here that I didn't mention earlier is like these ads can be actually run on behalf of your existing social media profiles. So if you have, a careers page, a social media page, TikTok, Instagram, these ads are actually displayed on behalf of that page. So your brand is a part of that, Boostpoint careers, and then it'll show that the ad content. So things like that. And again, authentic content is a huge one here as well. If it's like actually like videos that don't look stock like, and so a lot of it is in the actual content of the ad, how you can negate some of those things. Is like, oh, are people just going to see this as spam or not? I'm going to go through a couple more questions. Okay, here's a great question around candidate quality. So this specific question, is there a different method you'd recommend if a client wasn't looking for higher volume of candidates, but a higher volume of specific type of candidate? So speaking to candidate quality, for instance, someone who has 2 or 3 years of experience in the job area that you are advertising for. Really great question. So the way we handle this is within that applicant experience, and this really comes into the qualifying questions and like how you're handling those. So Facebook has this cool thing called logic-based forms, which we've started leveraging. This is actually fairly new. Only about 2 months ago is when Facebook allowed this for most pages. But what you can do with these logic-based forms is ask certain questions, and based on their answer, you can direct them to the next step of the hiring process. So it's kind of like a pre-screening, like before they're even applying. So for instance, if you're saying, hey, how many years of experience, do you have, maybe this is for a nursing job. Do you have over 2 years of experience in nursing? Because that's one of the requirements for the job. If they say yes, they'll be, they'll then navigate to the app apply now button. If they say no, you can direct them to a message saying, hey, sorry, over 2 years of experience is a requirement for this position. Maybe there's another job at an organization that's a better fit. So that's how you can handle, generating higher qualified candidates. If there's like knockout questions or specific requirements needed, that's how we handle those. Do you have something available that would show comparisons to Indeed versus Boostpoint? The best way to do this is schedule a call with one of our ad specialists. Again, we have all of this data. We just don't have it like organized in a public facing like PDF or something like that yet. We might get there eventually. But what we can do is we can look at, hey, what specific position are you hiring for? What's the CPA, with Indeed? What have we seen through social media? And we can organize that data and get it to you specifically to help you make a more educated decision around social media. Do you work with smaller boutique style staffing agency? I work with a very small creative and marketing agency, looking to ramp up social media presence, noticing job board applicants, not at the level and quality we need. We do have smaller packages. So Boostpoint as a brand, we work with SMB, mid-market, and enterprise clients. We have packages that fit all organization sizes. We have different level of packages. So like our enterprise is maybe a little more hands-on, again, scaled a bit more, but we do have, hey, you want to use our software, easy to get started, as more, if you're more of a boutique, and a small agency, we do have packages available for that style of customer as well. How much do these ads cost? This is a great question. The thinking a sec before I answer this, because it's basically you can create your budget at like Facebook. You can spend $1 a day on an ad. They give you that ability. I think $1 a day is the minimum like per day spend. Actually, it might be $5 per day now. Or you can spend $20,000 a day, and it's like, well, how do I know where to pick my budget? And so really, this comes down to is understanding like recruitment advertising data, and then also knowing the advertising system of Meta and kind of gauging like, okay, what's your hiring need? Usually the first questions that we ask to help our customers identify the right budget is like, how many open positions do you have right now? Like, how many positions are you trying to support through social media? That's usually the first question. And then you want to look at like, okay, the average cost per applicant for, this particular position is, maybe $10. So if we need 100 applicants, at $10 an applicant, we need to spend $1,000 in this month, and that's kind of the expectation. So that's how you can kind of start to dial in a budget, is like, okay, what's my, typical cost per applicant for this type of position? And then, do your math from there. Can you talk more about leveraging TikTok? Yes. So about 12 months ago, we launched a beta with TikTok. TikTok's an interesting platform. They're the fastest growing social media platform right now. Growing user base, a younger user base as a whole, like when you compare it to Facebook or Instagram. And so for super entry level positions, the younger audience, that's usually where we'll bring TikTok into the conversation with our clients. And so as a whole, TikTok from an advertising perspective is pretty similar to Facebook and Instagram. It's kind of the same structure and framework. It's just a different platform. One thing that is inherently different though from TikTok is the style of the platform. Like Facebook ads, you tend to have like room for more like content. So you can communicate more through the content of the ad, where TikTok, the nature of the platform is just like videos that you're kind of scrolling through. And so more of the content needs to be thought through communicating through the video specifically. And so as a whole, like we're seeing still Facebook and Instagram combined through the Meta advertising platform. That's where you'll tend to see the highest candidate volume, and like as a whole, candidate volume, yeah, you'll see more with the same amount of advertising spend through Facebook and Instagram. Where TikTok comes into play is like, maybe you've kind of maximized Facebook and Instagram with your budget, and you're trying to get in front of a different channel or a different audience on TikTok. Where it's like, all right, my cost per applicant might be a little higher on TikTok, but I'm willing to do that because I want that audience, because I'm not getting in front of that audience anywhere else. But TikTok, growing platform, I think it's going to become more and more in the conversation with talent acquisition teams and recruitment marketing over the next year or two, because rewinding a year ago when we initially did our beta test, I was not expecting the results that we were started seeing. Like we were like, hey, we're going to test this super early, didn't have a whole lot of expectations, but right away we were like, this is viable, like this works. And honestly, I was kind of going into that test like I doubt this is going to be cost effective enough because the audience size back then with TikTok, that it was going to even make sense. But we started spending advertising dollars, doing tests. It was like, no, this actually really works like right now. As that platform continues to grow, like advertising costs will most likely become more efficient. Again, it's hard to predict because then you have, if more advertisers come into it, that increases the advertising costs as well. But definitely a great platform to to be testing right now. I'd say if you're not doing anything on social media platforms, I'd first do Facebook and Instagram, deploy those first, and then have TikTok maybe as a phase 2 of your strategy. All right, I'm going to answer one more question. I have a number of more questions here. I'm sorry if I did not get to your question. Feel free to shoot me an email and I can answer that via email. My email address again is sam@boostpoint.com. If there's a specific question, feel free to email me directly. The last one I'm going to answer here is tips for technical recruiting, getting posts out to mechanics, blue collar skilled workers. This specific niche, we have a lot of experience here, yes. And the short answer is Facebook, Instagram. It is a fantastic platform to get in front of skilled workers, especially in the blue collar space, like you're mentioning here. We've seen a ton of success outside of that, but what you're asking for specifically there, like auto mechanics, like HVAC mechanics, diesel mechanics, all like those types of positions, we've actually been quite successful with through social media platforms. All right, well, I said that was gonna be the last question, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thanks so much for hanging with me through this webinar. I'm super passionate about this stuff. Really love it. Again, if you're wanting to learn more of how can this integrate with my organization, what's the steps to that, feel free to go to boostpoint.com. We'd love to have a one-on-one chat with you to talk about what those steps could look like for you. Other than that, it's a great Thursday afternoon here in Lancaster, PA. The sun's shining, excited about that, and excited to continue on with the week. So thanks again for hanging with me here, and hope you have a great rest of the week. Bye.